Hello, Daryl here. The channel is Programming in Any Language. The supporting website is www.black-duck.com. You find the videos and the PDFs of the code there in most cases. The video is the Anything Database version 2, part 3, Navigation. During my time consulting, I wrote dozens of applications for dozens of clients. In all cases, some sort of collection of data was required. It might have been a collection of data in a text file, or it might have been a collection of data using a database engine. Either way, it required giving the user the ability to navigate through the records. That's what we're going to do here. And navigation is really pretty simple. It means looking at the first record. It means looking at the last record. And of course, it means moving forward and backwards through the records. And all this is accomplished by using an integer to point to a particular record. When navigating, the only thing that could go wrong is you set the integer too low, less than 0, or you set it too high, beyond the number of records in the file. And those two conditions are easy to check. Let me show you. It's kind of a tough choice if you want to do saving next or navigation next. Certainly we were able to add records and everything, but we lose them as soon as we turn off the program, and we're going to have to redo this. But I think navigation is probably an important thing to do first, because we can test it with just a few records. We don't have to type in a bunch of stuff and make sure it works. And then we can go in and do the saving next so that we can start to build a database full of different records. So that's what we're going to do next is navigation. If you look at our hierarchy chart, it's basically sitting here on the side, on the left side. We're basically going to go top, bottom, forward, and backwards. In other words, we want to navigate through the list, forward, backwards, one at a time, or go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. Those are the kind of things we're going to do. We're going to ignore everything else. We might have an exit button, probably stuff to do. I can't remember if we actually did that or not, but we're going to do the navigation piece. So we ignore all the rest of the stuff and kind of look at it from this standpoint, that we're just going to be working with top, bottom, forward, and back. And we're also going to put the arrows in our little graphic in our form so that it looks good. So we're going to jump to that next. What we will be using in the form, we're certainly going to use the label count. We want to know how many records we have. So we come in there, we're always going to have the number of records that are actually out there, because we can navigate and then later do an add, whatever, and come back and navigate some more. So this is going to tell us the number of records we actually have. The user message is going to tell us what record we're actually looking at. Top of file is record 0 in a list, and the last record will be the maximum number. In this case, it would be if we had number of records 6, we'd have a 5, and a record 5 would be the last number in here. 0 through 5 is 6. We're also going to be using all of the editing portions. They're not actually editing, but the text boxes pieces here are going to show the data. They won't be enabled because we're just going to use this for display purposes only, but we do have to put the data in there, so we're going to be using that piece in here. The navigation panel has been turned on. We turned that on when we found we had greater than 0 for the number of records in here. And we have these navigation buttons now that are active: button back, button forward, button top, and button bottom, which we can name and put in place. So those are actually what we're going to be using. So let's take a look at the code of this thing. First thing we want to do is we want to take a look at this and see if we can't do some graphics for this thing. What I did is I went out to a website. I did a quick search for Google and looked for these particular things that I wanted here and found some that looked pretty decent. This is nice. These are nice. And what I ended up using, don't even know if they're here. They're right there. I think I used this thing here. What you can do is you can use Snagit or any kind of capturing tool to actually capture what you're looking at. I did it more precise than this, but I could grab it like this, and then I have my arrow in place. So you can pull it off of a Microsoft product you might have or anything else like that. And you end up with your arrow. And you can save it this way. You might want to adjust it a little bit. You can certainly change the image so you've got so you can rotate it clockwise. You get your down arrow, your back arrow, your top arrow, and your forward arrow. So I did that. And I placed them in my graphics category right in here and saved them. And here I've got my arrows sitting there. I was more precise on how I actually pull these things off. They're actually square. I think they're 59 pixels by 59 pixels, which doesn't really match our panel here. As you can see, we have rectangles here. They're a little bit different. I think they're 34 by 24. So we can either adjust the buttons or we can use it as is and put them in place. I'm going to use them as is and show you how to do that. So we're going to pull this off the side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the buttons right here. And we've got button back, or button top rather, is sitting right here. And we simply go to it, we go to the background image. And it's got nothing in it right now. I'm going to go ahead and grab it and go to my local resources and import an arrow. And I've got my top arrow right here. I'll put it in there, do an open on this thing. and then do OK. It sits in there. As you can see, it looks very lousy right now, but instead of centering it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it. You can think I'm going to zoom it. If you stretch it, you get something like this. If you zoom it, you get something that looks like about the same, really. Not much difference there. So it basically, and this is, again, this is a rectangle, and a square fitting inside a rectangle, so you've got a slight distortion there. We'll go to our next arrow. This is our forward button, and we'll bring our background image here, import them. Forward pops in nicely. We'll do the same thing with him. So we'll do it on a stretch, or zoom rather. Our bottom button, import them. Do the stretch thing, the zoom thing, and finally our back button. And now we're all set and squared away here. The nice thing about this is these things are now part of your application, so you don't need where you originally got the graphics from. We actually pulled them in and ported them into the application, so now they're sitting there and they're ready to go. So that's great. I'm going to do a save on this thing, and we've got them save all here. We can do our run real quickly just to see that they look like. And we don't see them because we don't have anything there. I'll just type in something very quickly. I'll add one. Pop something in here. We'll just put a name in there, do an update, and there it is. The navigation buttons pop on nicely. So, and they're ready to go. We're ready to navigate through by pressing them and looking at all the records that we've got in our database. We don't have any. We've got one, but we need to write the code for this thing to make this thing work. The exit button is written, so we're ready to go. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and do the top button right here. What do we want to do for the top button? Well, when you think about it, the top button is going to basically point to the 0 record in our list. So our int record pointer needs to be set for 0 there. That's what we need to do. So we'll do that. We'll say int record pointer is equal to 0. Points to first record. So the first thing we want to do is we want to fill the text box with all the data there. So we need a routine that's going to do that for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to call a routine called fill text boxes. And we're going to pass it int record pointer. So obviously we don't have a routine for this yet. We'll create one. Fill text box is going to basically fill everything in all the list boxes and all the lists we have to our form. And once we've did this, we then can say that our LBL user message.text is equal to top of file record 0. And that's it. That's all we need to do. Now, this isn't going to work until we actually put something in here, so we're going to need this particular routine. So we'll create it right here. We'll create a private void fill text boxes. And we'll bring in an integer called x. So we're going to actually retrieve the int record pointer into an x variable here so we can start using it to point to all of our items in our list boxes. We then can go to all the lists. For example, we have the first name list, LST first name, put X in there, and we're going to bring in the first name. We can do that for all the rest of the pieces as well, which we'll do. And this will fill all the items that we have in there. We've got a little problem there. We didn't get all of this. We need an X here, and a brace, or a bracket, and a semicolon, and we're set to go. So this will actually do it. This will put all those things in there if we want. At this point, we can test this. We'll do a file save, save all, and do a run. We're going to have to do an add to put a record in there. We'll do that very quickly. I'll just put a bunch of X's in here, and that's all we really need. We'll say update on this thing. It has our counter sitting there. Record successfully added. We can navigate by pressing the top button, and bang, we do go to the first record, and it does show us this record. We can't do any others because they're not there, but we do show our navigation is working. Top of file, we're at record 0, and it does display all that information. So this is great. Next thing we want to do, of course, is the bottom, the back, and the forward button so we can navigate through this thing. Bottom's easy. We'll do that next. Just jump to this. Click on our bottom button. The bottom of the file is basically the last record in the file. So its record number, or its pointer, is less than the actual record count. Remember, we had 6 records in there, so it'd be 0 through 5. So what we want to say is we want to say that int record pointer is equal to int record count minus 1. Point to last record. I have a minus sign here, needs to be an equal sign. And then we, again, fill text boxes. Just grab that right here. And then we want to put our user message in there. So we'll say LBL user message dot text is equal to bottom of file dash record, put space in there, and concatenate int record pointer to string and leave it as such. The next thing we can do is do our back button. For a back button, you simply say that int record pointer is equal to int record pointer minus 1 decrement pointer. So pointer to the one before, the one we're actually looking at. Now, well, again, we can fill the text boxes and pop our stuff in there, and we can simply say that this record here, we don't need to say bottom of file, we'll say record, whatever, in record point to string record 1. The only difference, the problem is though, we can have an error when we go backwards. We can go less than 0. We don't want to actually have that happen. So if we keep hitting a backwards button, we want to be able to force it to never go beyond 0, the first record. So in order to do that, we need to go under this int record here and say if int record pointer is less than 0, int record pointer is equal to 0. And we'll give this little comment here by saying make sure pointer does not drop below 0. And that's fine. Take a look at our forward button and we do something similar. This time we say int record pointer is equal to int record pointer plus 1. We increment pointer. And again, we can fill text box and put our user message in there. But again, when we go forward, we could go beyond the array, larger than this. So we're going to do a check here as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically say if int record pointer is set equal to int record count, int record pointer is equal to int record pointer minus 1. Or we could say int record count too. We could either way, wouldn't matter much. So this is basically as saying make sure pointer does not go beyond length of list. And that's it. That should do it for us. Let's do a file save and try this thing. Do a run. There's our guys. Let's do an add. Daffy D Duck 1122 Pond Lake Road, apartment 22, Pond City, CA 9998, oh, whatever, I got a 99876. Update. Add another one. Elmer Fudd. $4567 Hunter's Lane. He doesn't have an apartment, he lives in a house. He's also in Pond City. 98765, whatever. Update. Bang. And we'll do one more. Tweety Bird. $23.45. Gauge lane, swing 1, Pond City, CA 98765. Update, and we're here. So now we can use our navigation. You notice our arrows came on. As soon as we got above 0, this thing came on. So we can easily go to the top of the file, which is Daffy Duck, sitting record 0. We can go to the bottom of the file, which is Tweety Bird, we just put in. We can go backwards, Ehlers Elmer Fudd. There's Daffy Duck. We can go forward. There's Elmer Fudd. There's Tweety Bird. We can't go forward because we're at the end of the file. Same thing, if we go backwards, we can't go back. We stay at record 0. It just stays there. It doesn't do anything else. It might be nice to say that if it gets here, to put a message you are at the end of the file, quit pressing the button or whatever. But navigation is working just fine. There's our bottom of file record 2, our top of file record 0. So that's all it is to do navigation. So now that we've got this here, we're going to lose all this data. So we need to think about save next so we don't have to lose this data. We can continue on. That's navigation in a nutshell. With navigation in place, our next step is to set up a save routine and a load routine. That way we can use test data over and over again as we build all the other routines needed in our application. Thanks for watching. Visit the website when you get a chance, and please subscribe to the channel. There's more stuff coming every week. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.